Hey guys, Sean Bougie here. Every once in a while, I like to do upper level information for surplus funds and flipping programs. What you're looking at is a general warranty deed. It transfers ownership from one party to the other. Now, I've taken out some information for good reason. Even though this is public record, you can find this online. There's no reason for me to go through a deal we're actually trying to work through right now, put this information out there. So I did leave the first names, Jeffrey and wife, Deborah, as far as the grantee. This was the deed from when they got it, June 20th of 1990. Not hard to do this research, guys, but it does bother me that a lot of the guys out there, the competitors out there, are saying you don't have to check ownership or debt because that's silly. In this instance, I'm going to give you a really good reason why they're wrong, and you have to check deeds and debt. In this instance, it was a flip. It could have just as easily been a surplus funds file. Let's say there was 40 grand owed, and that would be 20 to Jeffrey and 20 to Deborah. However, what we found out from the claimant was that they were divorced in 2017. Now, in this particular state, this is where it gets really interesting, and this would make you guys a lot of money by knowing this. In this state, it said Jeffrey, his last name, and wife, her full name too. In this state, that's considered a joint tenants with rights to survivorship. Joint tenants with rights to survivorship. What that means is he passed away in 2017. We could work, and we contacted Deborah, we could work just with her. However, I'm going to make two more interesting points with this video. However, they did get a divorce in 2017. Now, apparently, they don't have a disbursement or a decree showing disbursement of property. So apparently they don't have a disbursement or order or decree showing disbursement of property, which means that's an issue because at the time he died, Jeffrey died, even though that would normally transfer to her, that was 2017. They got a divorce in 2007, did not record a new deed showing the new ownership on who was supposed to have it at that time. We're waiting to see if she has a decree. If she has a decree showing she owned it, we can work with just her to buy the property. Had this been a surplus funds deal, we could work just with her to go after the full surplus funds. However, they got a divorce in 2007. So without that decree, I can only go after, if I was working surplus, I could only go after half. And if I'm flipping the property, I can't buy half ownership and have marketable title. I can't sell it to someone else by owning only half. I mean, I could technically, but no one's going to buy it. Okay. So let's take a look at the next thing I want to bring up with you guys. Okay, so now what you're looking at is a restraining order, and I was being a little bit of a male chauvinist and made an assumption, and when I first looked at it, thought it was against him. Actually, it was from him against her, the woman we were dealing with. Now, I want to make a couple of different points here. First of all, it's from, this was from '06. Okay, you'll notice I didn't put the case information and all that. You don't need to know all that information. You don't need to know that information. And it was just interesting to me that this was on here now. It was actually granted in full. Guys, I want to make a point with this stuff. This has no bearing on, if we were working on surplus, it would have no bearing on it. If we were working on flipping the property, it would have no bearing. It's just an interesting side thing that I saw. I had to double check. It was in a state where I can actually double check online the information I need. So I had to double check and make sure that I knew what I was dealing with. In this instance, it was a restraining order. And just so you guys know, because a lot of you go down rabbit holes, right? You get all involved in, oh my God, they did this and they're horrible people. You can get a restraining order against someone and not have a real issue going on. Okay. I know a lot of people say, hey, where there's smoke, there's fire, but that's only about half true. There are instances where claims are made and there's really nothing there. Now what you're seeing is a domestic violence complaint that was also granted in whole, where apparently she was being violent against Jeffrey, or at least that's what the court said it was granted. Again, does this have a bearing on, if this was a surplus case, would it have a bearing on the money? No, absolutely not. If this, because this is a flipping case, does this have a bearing on us being able to flip it? No, absolutely not. The only item or issue that really has a bearing on this is we had what was called a joint tenants with rights to survivorship assumed, because in this state, they assume that if it says husband and wife or married and both their names on the deed. He died, but he died after the divorce, and he died prior to the surplus being created. He died in 17, okay? The divorce was in 06, 07. So we can only go after her half. It was a surplus case. On a flipping case, we cannot really go after this unless I can see something that shows that the ownership transferred to her because I cannot buy a home or half a home in this instance from a dead person. Hope this has helped you guys. I'm not trying to make it more complicated than it is because this is not something that happens all the time. But a lot of you guys really like the in-depth stuff, and I figured I'd provide it.